Hi, welcome everybody back to another Devtoberfest session. And I'm joined here today with Sebastiano. He's got a great presentation prepared for us with lots of demos. So, with no further ado, I'll turn over to you for today's Devtoberfest topic.
Okay, thank you so much, Thomas. What I'm going to present today is integration of S/4HANA public cloud APIs into CAP. We already saw a lot of video about this integration probably, but what we're going to see that is unique today is the configuration of the S/4HANA and the exposure of the API. I'm Sebastiano, I'm a BTP expert, sub-champion, and I'm enjoy to be here with you guys today. Let's see then, let's start from the beginning, from the agenda of today. We have, of course, an introduction where we define the goal of the section, and I will share you also the architecture, the simple architecture we have behind. Most of the session will be a demo, then and end to end recap in the end. Let's go with the introduction. What is our goal? Our goal is to expose our classical API, standard API from the business partner. We have a system, an S/4HANA system that the API is not exposed. We're gonna configure the system, the S/4HANA public cloud. We're gonna define the destination in our BTP, build and deploy the CAP application for use the API externally or where we want. Now, the architecture is pretty much simple, straightforward. Of course, we are not going in a big project. We have our S/4HANA Cloud connect with the HTTPS with the destination service. We're going to create a simple use case logic from our CAP project. And of course, with the API consumer client application, we're going to use Postman to access to our API made by CAP with a trust configuration A authorization. Let's not spend too much time on words, but let's go directly to the demo. Now, what I'm going to share is first the SAP Business Accelerator Hub, where we can retrieve our API. Here I'm searching the classical business partner API. And my suggestion is a trick here to decide the right API is always filtered by product. Then I search in public cloud, as for a public cloud. And we can see here the specific API for the business partner for our public cloud. I know that more expanded and more, not precise, but the more useful API is the business partner H2X. It's a OData V2 API, but, and from here we can see the overview, the API. I usually found really useful to see the API reference. Then we can see all the entities, all the fields that we will be exposed. For us, important is for sure the business partner, the classical business partner. And right now, from overview, what we need is the communication scenario. This one define exactly what those are defining help us to expose the API from our S/4HANA public cloud. Then in this case, SAP COM008, and we save it. Now I'm access to my S/4HANA public cloud system, and we are going to the first application. The first application we need, the first app, is useful to create a communication user. Okay. We can imagine the communication user like the old technical user. From here, we can create a new user that I will call it Devtoberfest with a description user to expose the business partner API. We don't need nothing else. We can ask to propose a password and save this password for later. Perfect. Now that we created the communication user, we can finally go to the second app that is like the communication system. Okay. Here again, we create a new system. In this case, usually the system can be an external system or can be an internal system. In this case, what we are trying to do, we are trying to expose the business partner API to external. Then the system ID itself, I will call it Devtoberfest as the name. But what I want to mention that this communication system is the S4HANA. We need to retrieve the information from S4HANA to our CAP project. For that, the host name usually is the host of the S4HANA, usually in this scenario when we want to retrieve the information from S4HANA. The logical system is not mandatory, but I know that the business partner API is required that, and we can use the logical system, imagine as the ID of the system. Then, for example, I can name it as S4HANA Public Cloud. And also I know that is necessary also the business system. That is like additional code that usually use to specify or in any case to address the consumer of the API. In this case, I want to call it BTP-X. What is missing here and is useful later is to add an user for inbound communication. For this session, we're going to use only username and password, nothing specific. We can use also other type of authentication method and other type of inbound communication. As well for outbound communication, that in this case we are not going to use because our S4HANA will not connect from nothing else. We use just the SL certificate standard of our system. Create. Good. Now that we have our user that can access to our system, we need our road to create the contract between BTP and S4HANA. For that, we are going to the last app that is like a communication scenario. And here we can see all the different scenarios that we can expose. And right now we need the scenario ID that we saved before, the business part scenario. Okay. We enter. And here we can see the details of this communication scenario, like the type, what is permitted, the description, the properties, etc. Let's create the communication arrangement, that is this contract between our system and the external system. We're gonna call it here Devtoberfest. Great. And of course, we need a little bit of configuration. What we need to configure, for sure, the communication system that we just created before. Then the Oktoberfest. By selecting the communication system, automatically our communication arrangements automatically set up the inbound communication and the outbound communication. In this case, this specific integration scenario, this business scenario is also used, they give the possibility to replicate the data. What does it mean? If we, for example, use to create a supplier or a customer with this API, we can replicate those data in an external system different than S4HANA. We don't want that, it's not necessary for our presentation. Then I deactivate all the replication service. So let's save. And we have done. Practically right now, what we did, we create the user, we create the system, the house of the user, and we finally create the road for the user to go out from the, not the user, but to permit our API or our business partner to go out through the BTP. And we are moving to our BTP. In this case, I'm using the trial account. Then you can try by yourself, of course. And we want to create a destination. I have here ready a destination that I created before, that Oktoberfest Dest. We don't care about the name. We care about the URL, that it should be our S4HANA. We care about the basic authentication, of course, and the user, that in this case, I'm gonna modify with that one we just create, with the password we saved before. Destination is for sure one of the most important things of our BTP. Permit us BTP to expose and retrieve other systems externally. In this case, we also define some properties that are mandatory for our project, for our CAP project. In this case, for example, the token service URL is dedicated. We're not going to use a token service for our S4HANA, but that means that we can get access through the token through S4HANA. Web ID enabled true, always useful to make this destination visible for the developer tool. Web ID usage OData gen that permit us as a developer to use the OData inside of our development tool. And for sure, HTML5 dynamic destination for make the destination not available only for development, but also when the app is running and deployed into the system. Okay, let's save. Then now we have S4HANA ready. We know that S4HANA is connected with our BTP. We need just to create our project. I have already opened my Business Application Studio. And in honor of DJ Adams, we will use only the CLI, the console. Then mkdir, to create a new folder that we call the Oktoberfest Cup. Perfect. We navigate inside of the folder, and because we are using Business Application Studio, this one is not automatically integrating in other IDE, but we can use the plugin and the library installed on our Business Application Studio, and with the command, for example, cts init, is auto-generating a simple template of a CAP project. Now, what you need to do? I imagine these projects like as our restaurant, okay? And we need to learn the recipe for our menu. And the recipe for our menu is based on a business partner. Then let's go back to the Business Accelerator Hub. And let's see the API specification. Here we can download the menu or the metadata where there is all the description for our API. I already downloaded and I just need to upload in our uh, Business Application Studio. Okay, I set into the folder. We can also retrieve remotely the document, but I prefer always to download and upload it. And from here, another command that is really important for us is the import of the file. With CDS import, we can decide to import our ADMX file, but we need to specify that we need our as a CDS. With that, the file disappears, but is creating automatically an external folder with the entity API business partner and with all the entity information retrieved from our APIs, the standard APIs from S/4HANA Public Cloud. What is missing? Unfortunately, or we need, not unfortunately, but we need to create and expose those API. We can also customize them and modify them. And for that, we create a new file that is like a service CDS. And I have a simple piece of code that we can copy and paste, where practically we define the variable API business partner that is like with an alias, and we import from our external the API. From that, we define the new service, business partner service, with a simple entity, business partner, as a projection of our original and standard business partner entity from the API. This one expose to external the business partner service with a single entity. That is enough for us today. Now that we have our menu for our restaurant, take a reference as before, I want to show how to create our kitchen for our restaurant, where we cook the recipe in our menu. Then I create also, in this case, service JavaScript. This one is like a CAP project Node.js. Then it's basic, we using JavaScript or Node.js. And here, another simple piece of code that we need. We need to require the library of SAP CDS. We need to connect remotely to the external system, API business partner. And we redefine our business partner read entity that is defined here with a simple remote run. Here is also incredible how we don't even need to define filter or specific how to say function, because automatically what we're gonna use on our client, in, for example, Postman, it will be translated and sent directly to our S/4HANA public cloud without any redefinition. Simple like that. Now, how exactly our project knows that we need to connect to our system? With that, we can see here with our CDS import before in our package.json, where we have all the definition of our project or the configuration. We can see the API business partner is a type OData v2. We know the model, but we don't know where the API can retrieve the data. For that, is missing another piece of code, the small one, the last one, I promise. Okay. we change the name of the destination. Okay. And from here, of course, with production, we define that when the application is deployed, we will use exactly those reference, those credentials. We use the destination dev Oktoberfest dest and the path of the original API and original in the original system. How to retrieve this path? You can go to the Business Accelerator hub. We can go to the configuration detail, and you can find here. Okay. Now, how to deploy? We are ready. Our application is ready. We can start to think how deploy our application. We need, of course, a MTA, multi-target application file. Then we can create this easily by using CDS add MTA. And this one permits us to deploy with the standard format of BTP with everything we need. For example, the CAP service, database, destination, and other module. We need also the principal service that are here, also with the CDS add. EX-UAA for define the authorization of our system with our system, destination to effectively connect with our destination of BTP, and connectivity, that in this case is not necessary because connectivity is usually useful to connect to our on-premise system. In this case, we are connecting just with a destination, but I usually add it. Okay. You see that our package JSON changed and also our MTA will, and we are ready. We can finally, another things I usually do in real is to help me to prepare some automatic script to facilitate my work. For example, I prepare a script for the build. And I also prepare a script for the deploy. It's not mandatory, this. It's just useful to don't save a little bit of time, or if you don't remember all the command. Here is building the MTA file and create an tar file in the gen folder. And here is deploying the file to the our Cloud Foundry. Then let's go with the last step. Let's install npm install all the package from our Node.js application. Let's also finally run our build. And let's verify first if we are logging in our system, in our Cloud Foundry before deploy. Okay, let's finally deploy our application. Meanwhile, it's deploying, it will take like a couple of minutes probably. I want to show you another command that is CDS watch. Right now, we didn't configure the connection with the BTP Business Application Studio to S4HANA, but with the CDS watch, we can review, wrong folder, I'm in the project, CD Dev Oktoberfest Cup, CDS watch. Here we can see that is expose the business partner API. And if we click, we can also see already the path to the service, the future service. Of course, it's not connected because we have no defined remote service from Business Application Studio. Let's wait, the application is running. and is starting. We can already move and go to our space. Click on in dev. Let's wait, the application is starting. It's now available. iPro is started. And here we can launch the application. It's just an API, it's just a simple proxy, let's say. And we can copy the path to test it. As we expect, there is an error 401 because my browser has no the credential or the authorization to access directly to the system, to the API, for the proxy API. For that, we are using Postman. And how my colleagues said a long time ago, if you can do in Postman, you can do everywhere. Let me duplicate this. Let's then copy the link for our API. Okay. What we need is the authorization, remember? Otherwise we would have like error on the credential. The access token is the same as before. You can find everything in your application in the environment variables. We use the XS UAA credential. We're gonna use the client ID. And we're gonna use the client secret to access. Okay. Now we can get a new token and we can use the new token for our application. And if I send it, we have our business partner directly from our S4HANA public cloud through our CAP project. As I said before, you don't need anything. You can just use here your filter or your parameters like top one. And you don't need even to redefine. They're matching perfectly. Let's go back to the slide. Then a recap for today. What we did is a discover API from the SAP Business Accelerator communication creation. We created the communication user, we created the system communication, and we created the communication scenario. We configured our destination inside of our BTP, and we develop our CAP project. We import first the external API, we define the service CDS, we implement the service logic, really simple. We add the required service, MTA, XUAA, connectivity, and destination. We adjust the package JSON to ensure the destination is binding to our S4HANA public cloud. And in the end, for that is all from Devtoberfest here before the SAP TechEd. I want to say you thank you and have a great and fantastic SAP TechEd.